Hey, how you doing? So, let's compare cameras. I want to compare the Canon R50V, that's the new video logging camera, the Sony FX30, and the Nikon Z30. What's the differences between all three of them? Which one's better? Since the FX30 and the Z30, they came out around the same time, the Canon is the latest one. So right now, the Canon like $649, $1,700 to $1,500 for the Sony FX, right? That's a cinematic camera, and the Z30s it dropped down to $556. Sometimes they throw in the lens in the price, under $600. A Nikon. I own only one of the three. It's the Z30, as you know. I wanted to get my hands on the Canon, but then again, I seen the Sony FX30. But the problem is they're pretty much all three the same. I mean, what do? They take pictures. They take video. They can be hooked up to your TV to watch it. They can do webcam. Type-C. Some of them take dual cartridges, CFC cards, or SD. Well, they're called extreme SD cards. Okay. The Canon lens mount is the RF. The Sony is the E, and the Nikon is the Z. The Z, the mount, that's the lens mount. Okay, the Canon is 24 megapixels. The Sony is 27 megapixels. And then okay, so let's say, yeah, the Canon R50V, 24 megapixels. The Sony FX30 is 27 megapixels. And the Nikon is 21.51 megapixels. Now, does it make a difference? Your camera can do more than all three of these. Well, my camera can. Even the new ones for 2025 cameras blow these out of the water with the megapixels. But that's not the whole thing. They want you to buy the camera and not use your phone. But your cell phone can do all of this. Take pictures. Use HDR. My Razor can do HDR Plus Pro. Yeah, beyond what these can do. That's high dynamic range. That's a high crisper range. Not only does the 4K, you have the higher range or dynamic color. That used to come out back in the day when the 1080p's came out. They had the dynamic range of 10,000 and all that stuff. That gives you more depth, make the picture more richer looking instead of flat, matted look. So, okay. So the resolution max on the sensor for the Canon is 6,000 by 4,000. The Sony FX is 6,192 by 4,128, and the Z30 can do 558 by 3712. That's a lot. YouTube Max is 2160. So, yeah. But then the image sensor size, APS-C, for the Canon is 22.3 by 14.9 millimeter CMOS. The Sony is 23.3 times 15.5 mm by APS-C. Okay, they're all the same kind of camera, CMOS. And Nikon is 23.5 by 15 by 7 millimeter APS-C CMOS. So the Z30 is bigger than the other two. Sensor crop is 6.6x on the Canon, 1.5x on the Sony FX, and on the Z30 is 1.5x. So around the same sizes. Image stabilizer. The Canon EOS R50V does not have an image stabilizer. The Sony FX Digital, the higher price one, is almost like double the price. Well, no, actually it's triple the price almost. That has a sensor shift 5 axle. But the Z30 has a digital stabilizer, video only. But like I said, the Canon and the Z30, say you just use those as your studio production, your video production. They don't leave they don't leave the building. You just use them indoor only, and that's it. You don't do anything else. They stay on a tripod. That's it. They do the job. You can get another camera that has the image stabilizer or a gimbal, or you can use it with a gimbal and can run around with them, and then they'll follow you and track you and all that stuff. So those are the alternative. Built-in NDF filter. So I'm actually using mine all right now. I don't know if I have one here. Okay, I have the small one right here. This is the UV. This is what they're talking about. Some of the filters you can change is a polarized, a CPL. They can do a lot of things. Or they have neutral density mode. Yeah. So they improve the picture in lighting conditions. If it's too light outside, they make it darker. Okay. So the Canon doesn't have it. Sony doesn't have it. And Nikon doesn't have it, but you can still get them. You get the lens, you get them, and they attach on, right, to the lens. Yeah, so no big deal there. Capture type, still and video, still and video, still. Basically, photos. They take pictures. Picture, and they do video. All three can. The shutter type, electronic rolling shutter. Electronic rolling. That's on the Canon and the Sony. They both have electronic shutter rolling. The Nikon, they give you mechanical focal plane shutter and electronic rolling shutter. So you get both of them. So, shutter speed 1/8,000. So it's 1/8 to 30 seconds. So does the Sony. The electronic shutter on the Z30 is 1/14,000 to 30 seconds. Electronic front curtain shutter is 1,430 seconds. Mechanical shutter is 1,430 seconds. The other two don't. It has electronic front curtain. The other one has the same thing as the Nikon. I mean, you got to remember, Nikon. That's all they do is make cameras and video cameras and binoculars. That's all they do. They've done it for years. The other two, Canon, they make copiers, make printers, color printers. They make a plotter machine. That's for larger sheets of paper, much larger. They do imagery. They do a lot of things. So it's not just the camera. Yeah, the camera too. So, and Sony's in the same boat. Sony does surround sound of receivers, video players. They do everything else. But Nikon, true camera company, doesn't make camera. That's why, because you see some of the features in the Nikon you don't see in the other ones. Bulb time mode. Bulb time mode is available on the Canon EOS R50V. No on the Sony FX30. It is available on the Nikon Z30. So it has a bulb and time mode. Okay. ISO and the gain and sensitivity. So the ISO native on the Canon EOS R50V is 100 to 32,000. 100 to 51,200 extended. Okay, it's native on the FX30, which is 100 to 3200. Okay, and extended is 50 to 102,400 extended. Now, on the Nikon, they have it separated. So on the photo, native is 100 to 51,200 on the photo, and video is native to 100 to 25,600 on the video. The others don't break it up, so we don't really know how they have it set up. Center metering method. The Canon has centered, weighted, average, elevated, partial, and spot. Doesn't seem to be any information on that for the Sony. On the Nikon Z30, it has center weighted, average, and matrix and spot. Exposure modes: aperture priority, auto, manual, program, shutter priority. I believe that the FX30, this here doesn't have the information here, would have what the other ones have, pretty much. Pretty much the same thing the Canon would have. Does that mention here? It's kind of weird, because the other ones mentioned, the Z30 has the same exact thing that for the exposure modes. Exposure mode compensation -3 to +33 V EV. It's -5 to +5. A little higher up there on the Z30. So you can see the difference between a true camera company and the other ones. Now Canon's been making cameras too. They make cameras as well. I mean, what's the priority? Camera or other devices? So Canon is, I have a color laser business class printer for the Canon right here. Boom. They focus on the printers, the copiers. They focus on everything else. And then they got the cameras. So, and Sony's the same thing. I'm not saying they're not making the equipment problem, but they have other focus. That's what's their main goal and focus. White balance, 2,500 to 10,000 K. That's on the Canon. 2,500 to 9,900 K on the FX30, and it's the same thing. Both Canon and the Nikon has the same thing, 2,500 to 10,000. This is the Z30 we're talking about. Okay, presets: auto, cloudy, color, temperature, custom, daylight, flash, fluorescent, white, manual, shade, tungsten. This one, the one from Sony, has auto, cloudy, color, temperature, daylight, fluorescent, incandescent, shaded underwater. And the Nikon 30 has auto, cloudy, color, temperature, direct, sunlight, flash, fluorescent, incandescent, preset, and a manual shade. The only thing it doesn't seem to have is the tungsten. Continuous shooting, up to 15 frames per second at a maximum resolution of 36 frames, and RAW, 95 frames, JPEG. We don't know about what's going on with the Sony. It doesn't hit the blank. And on the Z30, up to 11 frames per second at maximum resolution. Recording intervals. Does it record? Yes. Doesn't say anything for the Sony. And Z30, yes. Self-timer, 2/10 seconds delay. Sony does not have a self-timer, and 2/10 seconds delay on the Z30. Aspect ratio: 1:1, 3:2, 4:3 to 16:9. The Sony is 3:2, 16:9. The Z30 is 1:1, 3:2, 16:9. But you don't really need 4:3 because nothing is really using that anymore. Image file output: C, and then RAW, HEIF, JPEG, and RAW. The Sony has HEIF, JPEG, and RAW. The Z30 has JP RAW. Now the bit depth. We already know that the Canon EOS R50 only does 10-bit. And the FX30 does 14-bit. And the Z30 does 12-bit and 14-bit. As that. Oh, I have it, so I know. But I do everything in 14-bit. It's better. In recording modes. So the Canon has XF-AVC, SXF, so it's SXF, okay, and HEVCS. Okay, it does 4 to 2, 2 to half, 4 to 2, 0, 8-bit, 10-bit. Oh yeah, 8-bit, 10. Ooh. They all do 1080p at 120 frames per second. The Canon goes all the way up to 4K, 23, 25, 97, and 59. The Sony FX30, 4 to 2, 2, 10-bit. In recording modes. The Z30 is 14-bit. It has 12-bit, 14-bit mode. See, the Sony can go up to 120 frames per second. That's a slow motion mode. The Z30 only goes up to 23, 25, 20, 30 frames per second. But it does 100 frames per second for 1080p. I don't even use that setting. And it can do that. What they should do is tell you which camera can withstand, how long can it record. So they're unlimited recording. But unlimited recording on what setting? Can it go to an hour without overheating? Yeah, or more. External recording modes. The Canon doesn't say anything about HDMI. This one says 10 bits HDMI, 4 to 2 to 2 for the Sony FX, and HDMI it's about the same. The Z30. Fast, slow motion support. Yes. Slow motion only on the Z30. Gamma curve, Canon log, HDR. Well, this is HDR, HLG, HDR, PQ, and then on the FX, the Sony has HDR, HDMI, but the Z30 has HDR also, high dynamic range, but not the latest one. I don't see the Canon have the latest one either. Recording limit, there's none. There's 13-hour recording limit with the Sony FX30. Man, you pay a lot of more money for the Sony FX30, and it has a recording limit of 13 hours, where the Z30 has no recording limit. IP streaming, that's Internet Protocol streaming, no. The Z30, yes. And looks like the FX30, it does. Built-in stereo microphone, all three of them have it. They have built-in stereo microphone. Why do you need a boom mic that's mono? Unless you get the boom mic that has both stereo and mono. They do have that. I did find one. I was going to get a review on it and see if it really worked. It has a mic in the front, a mic in the back. A lot of these have this mic in the front. And if your camera can do stereo, you're missing out. Audio recording, 2-channel, 16-bit, 48 hertz. That's pretty high, 48 hertz. That's 16-bit. 32-bit audio. AAC audio. The Sony FX has 2-channel, 24-bit LPC audio and 4-channel, 24-bit LPC. That's a higher. Well, it's only go up to 26. So the Canon audio's tinny is 16-bit. Where the Sony is 24-bit. It has 2-channel audio and 4-channel. The Z30 has LPC audio and ACC audio. It's going to be 2-channel. It should be 48-bit. I don't think it's going to be 16-bit. It doesn't sound like it to me. Single slot SD, SDC, SDCX. Dual slot CF Express, that's the F30. Type A SD. Type A SD. Single slot SD, SD HD, SD SXC, and UHS1. Doesn't say that one. Okay, that's on the Z30. Video input output, 1 micro HDMI. Gee. 1 HDMI output and 1 micro HD output. That's on the Z30. Audio output 1 to 1/8 35mm TRS stereo headphone output 1/8 35.35mm TRS-80 stereo microphone input. This Sony has a 1 to 1/8 3.mm TRS-80 stereo and headphone out and 1/8 to 3.5 TRS-S stereo microphone. The Z30 has a 1/8 35.1 TRS-80 microphone input. Okay, so they have input and output. But you can get the microphones, you know, the micros, the boom mics, they have input and output on them, so you can go from there. So, yeah, okay. One type USB-C input, one Type-C USB-C input, one Type-C CPU input. They all have wireless, 2.45 gigahertz, 802.11ac, Bluetooth 4 on the Z30. The FX30 has 2.45 gigahertz, Bluetooth 5.0, 802.11ac. They all have it, except they all have a Wi-Fi 5. Oh, that's another thing too. Do you need Wi-Fi 6 for your new phone? Yeah. If you're gonna transfer your files, well, I don't do it wireless. I take the card out, I plug it into the computer, and then just upload right to YouTube. It's fast that way. Why are you gonna waste time transferring unless you're gonna edit? But you really don't have to. They support Android, iOS. The Z30 comes with its own software. You can take RAW files, or they call it NF files, and that's Nikon file system. So you can take that and put it through their software, and the software can enhance the picture. So you can take raw pictures and enhance. They come with software. They have their own software. I'm sure both of them do. Global positioning GPS. Wow. Okay, cool. They all have GPS except for this Sony FX30. It's done through the phone though. Viva connection to the smartphone. Those are the two. Monitor size 3.0. Resolutions 1040 dot, 2,360 dot, 1,040 dot. Okay, I'll be that. Articulating touchscreen, LCD, all of them have that. That means you can touch and flip it around. Either way. Okay. No viewfinder, not acceptable. None of them have a viewfinder. But there's a device now that you can put through the cold shoe, where you put the light, and there's a little circle on top. You can look down, and then there's a circle pointing that you can see. That's a new add-on, so you could use it like that. Aim and shoot. Photo, autofocus, negative 4.9 to plus 19 EV. They're similar to okay. So the first one would be the Canon has a negative 5 plus 20 EV. The Sony has a negative 3 to plus 20 EV, and the Nikon has a negative 5.5 plus 19 EV. I guess electronic viewer. That's what it stands for. Built-in flash. No. But I heard that the Sony has one. Yeah. I haven't played around with it. They all have shoe mount. They all have the battery. Has 330 shots with the battery. The other ones they don't say. They don't say nothing else. That's it. Unless you care about the weight. The heaviest one here is the Sony FX. It's 568. That's the body only. That's 1.2 pounds. 12 ounces, 12.3 ounces, and 350 grams body only is the Z30 from Nikon. And they got it with the batteries 370. So the heaviest one here is the FX30, followed by the Canon EOS 50V. So I have the Z30. I was thinking about the FX30, but why should I get that? Since the Z30 does everything the other two. So the Z30 is 14-bit. So it's the Sony. So why would you buy? Why would I buy a 10-bit camera? So Canon, I have to say no unless you have a 12-bit, 10-bit. But yours is 8-bit, 10-bit. That's old. I don't go backwards. I have the Sony here, right? I'm recording on here right now. Okay. Hey, thanks for watching. Okay. So this is not being paid for. I'm not even paying me nothing. I bought the Z30 on my own, and I have a Sony SV1. This is 8-bit. So this is how 8-bit records. Okay. At 4K at 30p. Okay. I gotta go. Take care.